Be 15, with same age cousin and bros all within a year of each other. Go into the woods to be manly like we do. Have normal supplies, axe, hatchets, knives, matches, and etc. Getting late in woods, but we be extra manly, as 15-year-olds like to pretend to be. Finally decide the bugs are too much. Time to head in. On way back, there's a pretty androgynous-looking person on our trail. Just standing there in torn clothes. "Hey, you lost? We can lead you out if you want." Starts doing this heaving motion, like dry heaving, but lifting their elbows too. Very unnatural looking. "What the fuck are you doing?" Heaving stops, opens mouth, and just screams bloody fucking murder. Today, I would have ran, but we were all posturing like 15-year-olds do. Plus, we were stocked with lethal weapons, and there was like 9 of us. All weapons raised in defense mode. Screaming stops after like 30 seconds. Cricks head unnaturally, like they do in almost every possession movie, and smiles at us. "Get the fuck away from us!" Runs off into the woods. Strangely, can't hear its footsteps after it disappears into the first layer of brush. Nope out of the woods. We didn't go back to the woods for like 3 weeks. I live in a semi-rural community in the Sonoran Desert, Arizona. So basically, there are houses around mine, and we are surrounded by desert wilderness and mountains. So here's the story. Windy but clear night in the desert. No streetlights, but it's a full moon, and there's plenty of porch lights. Clear visibility. Sitting on my roof, where there's a deck and chairs, looking across the desert. Power lines are buzzing abnormally loud, and make this bizarre tethery noise. Reminded me of Twin Peaks. Light up a cigarette, no other drugs on me. Hear a trash can tip over down the street. Look that direction, and see this shadowy shape, about as tall as an F-250, darting from shadow to shadow. I'm spooked, but it's not close enough to be sure if it's real. See it dart into my neighbor's backyard. Their horses go crazy and make a fuckload of noise, but my neighbors don't seem to be home. Can't see the thing because it's mostly dark in their yard. Suddenly, see it dart behind our shop in our yard. It was as tall as our truck and 100% humanoid as it moved towards the shop. Very spooked now, and my dog is losing his shit inside the house. Sit there a long time, frozen. Finally go downstairs and get on with my night. Still windy as fuck. About to go to bed. Suddenly hear footsteps run across my roof, like I was in signs or some shit. Hear my mom say, "Oh my god, I think an animal just jumped off our roof." Spooked that JPEG. Still fell asleep, and never saw it again. This is the only spooky thing to have happened to me personally, as far as I know. But a few friends and family members have told me stuff that happened to them. A girl I was briefly acquainted with told me this one. B-girl, hanging out with cousins in old ancestral home, watching a movie. Male cousin goes to make popcorn. Movie starts. Girl and other cousins sitting on couches. Male cousin comes back and sits on the couch next to girl. Girl asks cousin where the popcorn is. Cousin doesn't reply. Keeps staring slightly to the right of the TV screen. Cousin walks into the room with popcorn. Sees himself sitting on the couch. Girl looks over and realizes there's 2 of them. Cousin-looking thing turns face towards girl and starts smiling. Smile keeps widening. So wide, it should have gone off the face. But it gets distorted and seems both contained by the face and yet wrapping around to the back of the head. Actual cousin drops the popcorn and yells. The thing disintegrates sideways and fades away, like a transition effect in a PowerPoint presentation. The smile is the last thing to go. Sounds kind of like a mix of a Western skinwalker and a standard poltergeist. Live right by the woods. Backyard emerges into woods. One summer, I was in the habit of going for a walk a few hours before sunset, usually came back as it was turning dark. One night, I stayed at one of my spots for an hour or two after it got dark. Family got concerned. Dad shouted my name from the backyard at the tree line a few times. Barely heard him and returned home. Busy for next 2 days and don't go for my walk. The next time I went for my walk, everything was like normal. Hang out a while at one of my spots. It gets dark. Right before it's about to get completely pitch black, I get up to leave when I hear something that gave me the weirdest shock. It was my dad's voice, shouting my name, but it wasn't coming from the direction of our property. It was coming from deeper in the woods. It called again.
Dave? Dave!
Just like my dad would call for me. Basically freak out internally, standing in one spot. I know for a fact that my dad is actually working late and won't be home till much later. There's no way in hell he would just randomly be in the woods and calling me. Once the complete impossibility of it really happening hits me, I take off running at top speed. Couldn't see anything, still legging it like my life depended on it. Felt like I was flying down the trails. Somehow my feet knew every little ditch, rock, branch, and etc. Finally get home. Heart is pounding like crazy. Calm down a little. Out of breath, ask my mom.
Is Dad home?
She says,
What? I told you earlier he's working late. He won't be home till 2 or 3 a.m.
Never tell her or anyone else in the family what happened. Never stayed in the woods after dark again. This happened when I was like 4, and it still gives me chills thinking about it. Camping with Dad in the woods near our house. Live near a huge national park, so we have tons of places to go. Decide we're gonna make a trip of it and hike in a ways. From the time we parked until we stopped for lunch, we didn't hear or see a single soul. We were completely isolated. Stopped to have lunch near an old riverbed. I start to get this weird feeling. I look over to see if Dad feels it too. He looks slightly worried. Something just didn't feel right. It felt like we were being watched. Suddenly, on the opposite side of the riverbed, a woman appears from the bushes. She's wearing jogging clothing and sneakers. She's smiling really big at us.
Hi.
She calls at us. Dad doesn't answer.
I'm looking for my daughter.
She doesn't say this in a worried way, though. More like a mildly annoyed way.
I've been looking all over for her. Have you seen her?
No, my dad says. She sort of hesitates. Never stops smiling.
Hi. I'm looking for my daughter. She's gotten off somewhere. Can you help me look for her?
What? I'm thoroughly shitting bricks at this point. Dad says,
No.
Again, more firmly this time. The woman just stands there, smiling at us. Dad says we need to go. We pack up our stuff, and the whole time, he keeps an eye on her. Sometimes she just calls stuff like,
Hi.
And,
Have you seen my daughter anywhere?
Finally packed up and ready to go. Dad checks my pack, turns to check on her. She's fucking gone. Never heard her leave. We get the hell out of there and back to the car as fast as possible. The thing about it that was so fucked, aside from the whole thing, was that she was wearing sneakers and jogging shorts. We were deep in back country. There is absolutely no way she got there in those clothes. Weirdest shit I saw when I was doing rescue shit in the bush in Australia. Some bushwalker got lost late at night. We found their camp abandoned, and signs where they run in a hurry. Their tent was also slashed. After about an hour of tracking them through the bush, we find them just standing there in the open, completely frozen. They didn't acknowledge us calling to them or react to our torches. There was 4 of us. I'll call them John, Jack, Jake, and me. Jake didn't want anything to do with this dude. He was freaked out. Jack walks up to the dude to go offer him some water. As soon as he laid hands on the dude, there was an ear-piercing screech, and then both the dude and Jack were gone. All that was left was the bottle that Jack dropped. We all legged it back to the trail, and we somehow got separated. The radio wasn't working either. 2 hours later, I somehow stumble across our vehicle, even though I was pretty sure I was never heading in the right direction for it. I get in, lock the doors, and wait until morning. Morning comes, and I return to the place where Jack went missing. The bottle was still there, all of our tracks were missing, and nobody was responding to the radio. John and Jake are still missing to this day. So is Jack, but I swear I've seen him stalking me recently, from afar, at night. Fuck it, postin'. Before I begin, just know I'm a stranger on the internet. My word is worth exactly bunk. But that also means I have no reason to lie. What, am I gonna look cool on fucking 4chan? This is exactly what happened to the letter. Summer 2013. Drinking with a few bros. Something about lights over a park an hour away. Laugh it off as small town news. Someone gets the idea to camp there for shits and giggles. I'm down. A week later, we get our schedules lined up and head out. Bros drinking and smoking. I had a drug test coming up and can't stomach beer unless I'm feeling 100%. So, spend the night sober. Skip to 3 a.m. Bros are slowly dropping off, going to their own tents, but I'm still wide awake. Walk around the forest trails to burn some energy. See a few people walking around, but considering the lights in the sky shit, I wasn't surprised. Eventually start walking parallel to another guy, about 40 feet away. Too many trees between our paths to see anything, but the green jacket that he was wearing. Haha, hey, he's got the same jacket, but the sleeves rolled up too. Walked to a street that was fairly well lit. Glance over at my walking buddy. Same jacket, same shorts, shoes, hair, glasses, down to the fucking Majora's Mask tattoo. That fucker was me. He looks up. We lock eyes. As I'm trying to process what the fuck I was looking at, he starts making a beeline towards me. 4 years of track and field kick in, and I run like I've never run before. Hit the campsite in about 2 minutes, throw open my car door, and smoke an entire pack of cigarettes. Eventually, bros start waking up. Never tell anyone. Lie and say I just woke up despite being paper white, with flushed cheeks and bags under my eyes. This happened an hour ago. I'm shaken. I live on the coast of South Carolina. My backyard directly leads to marsh in an open field, surrounded by woodland. I woke up to get a glass of water downstairs. I kept having this feeling as if something were off. So I went to find my mother, someone who tends to stay up late, going about chores. I went to the backyard and saw her about 100 yards from the back door, facing the marsh. I called out to her, but she didn't hear me, so I walked out to her. Once I started getting close, she turned to face me, but something about the way she looked was off. So I asked her if anything was wrong. At this point, I was about 30 feet from her, and she started walking towards me. The fucking back door opens, and I turned to see my mom standing on the deck, and she called out to me, asking what I'm doing. I've never ran so fast in my life. As I looked back to the marsh, I could see that thing booking it for the woods. It looked just like my mother. I yelled at my mom to go inside, as there was something out there. I told her what I saw, and I've been crying, and I can't stop shaking. What the fuck just happened? Did something try to lure me out to the marsh? I must be losing my damn mind, but I know what I saw. Be me. Kicked out of home when I graduated high school. Didn't have any close friends that I could crash with. Police regularly checked places that homeless people would sleep, and they would harass them. Was really good at going out. Never did learn how to catch my own food, though. Set up a camp about a quarter mile in a woods so I could go into town whenever I needed. Winter hits. For those closer to the equator, Michigan winters are terrible if you have to live with only a campfire. Practically starved for 2 weeks. Only thing on my mind at any moment was food of all kinds, especially meats. I would have killed for a rare steak. Started legitimately considering kidnapping somebody else, just so I could eat them. Constantly at war with my hunger and my unwillingness to kill another human being. To sate it. One night, I had enough of only getting mediocre amounts of food from dumpster diving. Sitting by campfire, preparing myself for what I'm about to do. A random guy comes out of nowhere and sits across the campfire from me. Looks like Indian Doom guy.
I know what you want to do, but trust me. Once you cross that line, there is no coming back. Once that happens, I will come for you.
Leaves. I'm shitting my pants. That one experience convinced me to try to get a house, and I eventually succeeded. I haven't seen him since, but I am sincerely thankful he came into my life when I needed it most. I got one. It happened this year, just before Christmas. Want a real Christmas tree? My parents always kept a fake tree, so I never had one. First Christmas on my own. Decide to go cut my own. Not sure how that works. Google nearest woods. Buy an axe, especially for this job. Go at night because I'm not entirely sure this is legal. Go to wooded area at night. It's snowing heavily. Also, dark. Very, very dark. I go into the woods with my axe. Start looking for the best tree. In light of what happened next, I probably should have just bought a fake tree. Once I'm out of sight of my truck, I start hearing noises. I tell myself it's wildlife, and then I push through. Spoiler, it wasn't wildlife. It was something far, far worse. I start seeing tracks in the snow. Not mine. They were spaced like a person's, but they were too small to be mine. I should have turned around at this point. Instead, I decided it was a deer. You know, the kind that walk on 2 legs. My mother must have smoked when she was pregnant with me or something, I know. A little scared at this point, so I decide that the best tree is conveniently close. Truth be told, it was a mediocre tree. Not worth the stress though. As I get ready to cut it down, I hear a noise. Nothing loud, but it's hard to describe. Like something getting agitated. But also that thing is not something you want to agitate. I hear something fall close by. The snow on a nearby tree was brushed off. The entire time I'd been in the woods, there was an ambient noise. Birds and squirrels and shit, probably. There was now nothing. Somehow, I decided to cut the tree down anyway. You know, like an idiot. The first strike, I could have sworn I'd heard a scream in the distance. Not just a scream, but something worse. Blood-curdling. I stopped and listened. Still just complete, dead silence. I thought hard about running out of the woods right then, but I thought that would be silly and I was being childish. I took another whack at the tree and heard nothing. So I chalked it up to my imagination and took the tree down the rest of the way. I grabbed the trunk like you see in movies. It wasn't a big tree, I should mention. It wasn't heavy or anything, so dragging it wasn't exactly a feature of Herculean strength. I start dragging it toward my truck. Suddenly, I hear something. It was small, but it was something. I start to observe my surroundings. Problem was, it was dark, and I had a goddamn flashlight from the kind of store that sells axes and groceries. Some of the trees behind me had some snow brushed off of them, but that wasn't altogether weird. But then I noticed some tracks. The same deer tracks from earlier. My face when I realized it wasn't a goddamn deer. My face when I realized the goddamn not deer was following me. Tracking me. At this point, I knew enough to drop that fucking tree and sprint for the truck. It, whatever it was, knew enough to know I was aware of its presence. and it dropped all pretense of this being a stealth mission. I could hear it. It was running. I could hear the impact on the snow, and I could hear it wheezing. It was desperate. It was giving everything it had to catch me. I let out a scream. Maybe a forest ranger would find me and help. Nope. Then, I felt it. It was grabbing at me, not with teeth, but with hands. I turned and caught a glimpse of orange fur on my coat. Luckily, I hadn't buttoned the coat, so I just shook it off like Taylor Swift on meth. I heard a thud. The thing had fallen over with my coat. Then, I saw the truck. With the extra adrenaline, I started running faster. Finally, my kidneys were pulling their weight. There's a long story behind that joke. I was almost there, but then, I tumbled to the ground. It had somehow thrown itself at me. I knocked it off me because no creature can tumble to the ground with its prey and be perfectly ready for a fight. I stumbled away from it as it stood. It was horrible. Covered in this unnaturally bright orange fur. It looked like some sort of beaver, but it walked on its hind legs. I screamed like a little girl. The littlest girl. Then it talked. I couldn't goddamn believe it. The fucking abomination was talking. I stopped screaming to listen to it. I will never forget what it said next.
I am the Lorax. I speak for the trees. I speak for the trees have no tongues.
It then lectured me for half an hour about over-harvesting trees and why I shouldn't poach trees from the woods. I have never been more horrified in my life. Make post criticizing Google. Next CAPTCHA shows street near my house. In this thread, dead body thread. Street racing days. Friend bottoms out in his McLaren F1 and hits fuel tank. Car explodes and he burns to death inside. Number 2. Saw motorcyclist come off his bike when driving one day. Slid into oncoming traffic. Across 2 lanes rolling. And then got destroyed by a massive truck, which must have thrown a lot of him into the wheels, or something. I don't really remember seeing the body, just a guy trying to get back on his feet. Number 3. I saw a kid once crushed and killed in a trash compactor. By seen, I mean I heard screaming and saw the aftermath. I'm not really sure what happened. His dad seemed upset. I really am not very good at writing this, but I would rather not attempt to convey it in any way. I found a baker's dozen of suicide victims too, but I think everyone has really. The most fucked up one in this category, though, was a girl who burnt herself alive at a secluded bench. I could tell that she was a female on account of the charred fatty titties. His dad seemed upset. Oh no. I saw a kid once crushed and killed in a trash compactor. His dad seemed upset. Oh my God.